Hello everyone, this is Sen from Sen Invest, and today we'll be talking about crypto taxes. Maybe if you're like me, you did a lot of transactions in crypto last year, buying, selling, getting income from airdrops, and now tax season is fast approaching. You might be feeling a little overwhelmed. So, where do we start? TaxBit has a great blog article on how to report cryptocurrency on taxes. First, we need to understand what is a taxable event. There are capital gains tax events, which involve selling cryptocurrency for fiat, trading one cryptocurrency for another, for example, trading Bitcoin for ADA, and then using cryptocurrency to purchase goods and services. I had a lot of these events last year, which would be trades. Another is when you receive income from crypto staking, hard forks or airdrops, or interest earnings. I had a few of these last year as well. While you don't owe taxes when you buy crypto with fiat or when you take a loss in your trading, it is important to keep track of these transactions for tax reporting in the future. That is because long-term capital gains is taxed differently from short-term capital gains. Basically, if you hold your cryptocurrency for over a year before trading it, you get a more preferable tax rate compared to short-term, which would be less than a year. Once you have these details together, it's time to look at the forms. There's Form 8949, which you'll use to report the gains and losses, which would then be transferred to Schedule D. Also, if you receive income from crypto, this will be reported on Schedule 1 if it's more of a hobby for you, or Schedule C if you classify this type of income as business income. Once these forms are done, you have fulfilled the requirements. While this might sound easy, how do you handle having so many transactions? For example, last year, I had over 100,000 transactions. This is because I used automated trading software from Bitsgap, which uses a robot to place trades automatically. I didn't think I would have quite so many trades, but here I am, and it's time to do taxes. Here is one site which compares different types of software used for reporting crypto taxes. It's fortunately.com, and this shows us a number of different sites that we can use to do our taxes on crypto. I decided to look at some of these plans and see what they have to offer. One of the plans that I looked at, and I actually created an account for, is Coinly. And I'd heard of this also before, this site. However, I quickly found that I would be charged substantially more for having so many transactions. This isn't even half of all my transactions that I need to import. Another site is TaxBit, again, which I had mentioned from the first blog. This offers a very good plan, actually. For exchanges within the network, it's free. The plan is free, but if the exchanges outside the network, plans start at $50 a year. I do like that they have unlimited transactions, however. Zen Ledger charges $9.99 for unlimited transactions. Accointing for up to 50,000 transactions is $2.99. Token Tax charges a whopping $3,500 per tax year for up to 30,000 transactions. Crypto Tax Calculator charges $2.99 for up to 100,000. And finally, this site I was really interested in going with for a while is Cryptotrader.tax. And this appeared to be working quite well as I imported my data, but then when it came time to generate the report, unfortunately, it was not able to generate the report. So I did contact support twice, but the issue was still not resolved. So at that point, I decided, why not create my own software? Now, this might seem a little like reinventing the wheel. The software does exist to do taxes, but there are several reasons why I chose this route. Let me explain. One of them is that if you decide to go with one of these software sites, which I just showed you, the historical data is very important in determining the basis for long or short-term transactions. And so it's not quite so easy to change sites if there's a limited transaction count. That is, you're paying by transaction. If there's unlimited transaction counts, yes, you probably could change sites, but it would just be a lot of hassle to go through getting the CSVs or connecting the APIs, that sort of thing. Another reason that I decided to go with writing my own software is that I've been out of the IT field for a number of years, and I'm very keen to get back in. And this is a great way to brush up on my skills. And as an added plus, I love working with SQL. So I decided to go to MySQL. We can get a download, which is free here, and it's under the MySQL community GPL downloads. You'll need two pieces of software for this. One is the community server, which will install on your local machine, and then the other is the workbench. There is a way to also use MySQL from the back end, from the terminal. However, the front end was very useful for me when I was doing the project. So let's go and see now what would have to be done to make this software work. Here is a chart showing the flow of my software. I import the CSV, I put all that data into a holding table, and then I look at the holding table and determine if there is a crypto to crypto trade. If that's the case, I take that trade, that one transaction, and I split it into two transactions. One is selling the first crypto for USD and then buying the second crypto with USD. I then put that into a specialized transaction table, which I then use for my reporting. So I calculate the profit and loss. I see what's the holding time, and this determines whether it's a long-term transaction or short-term. Then at the end, I can also create my income report for the income that I received from staking or different DeFi projects. So let's look now at how I would do an import. Okay, so for this we can go to the terminal. Okay, so here I'm going to look at my load.csv.sql file, and this just shows that I want to first remove all the data in the KuCoin trades table, and then I want to load the data in the KuCoin trades CSV file into the KuCoin trades table. So this is one example of a CSV, and we could also look at what that CSV would be. So KuCoin trades.csv. So the first line just gives the headers, and then the remaining lines give the actual data, which here we're looking at looks like a bunch of trades, buys and sells. All right. So once that is done, I'm then going to read the data from the holding tables, as my flowchart here shows. So for that, I'm going to pop over here to MySQL Workbench, so I can show you. Here it's creating the trade records. So I am loading the different values from the holding tables into the transaction tables, so I can do my reporting. Then for the non-trade transactions, which would be, for example, income, deposits, this sort of thing, rewards, these sort of transactions would also be created on the transaction table, but they would have different types depending on what they were. And then finally, we get to the really exciting procedure here, which is calculate profit and loss. This is how I determine my long-term and my short-term gains or losses. So we have a number of loops here, looping through the sells and the buys. Let's look at a visual for what's behind this sort of looping. Let's say here that I have some sells and I have some buys, which could also be income as well. Let's say my first sell is bigger than my first buy. Okay, so to continue, I need to pull in another buy, my second buy, which ends up being more than my first sell when combined with my first buy. Okay, so we're keeping track of the remainder here in the different buy transactions. We're moving on to the second sell transaction, which then completely consumes that second buy. Then we move on to a third buy here, which actually ends up being more. So theoretically, your buys would amount to having more crypto than your sells would. We're not doing futures, short selling, that sort of thing here. Okay, and here all along, I'm checking at every point here between every pair of trades. I'm checking for the time difference, and that's to determine whether it's a long-term or short-term basis. Okay, so now that that's done, I would be able to have my my report generated. So let's go over to the terminal here, and we can have a look at what my report would look like. So I'm going to open up a connection to MySQL, and then I'm going to look at all my Bitcoin transactions from last year and prior years as well. Okay, so here you see the result. My basis and my proceeds for last year's transactions and also I bought some Bitcoin before last year, so that's why I have a long. And then the short, most of my trading was within last year, so I have my short basis and my proceeds. So that is it. This is how you can create your own tax reporting software using MySQL. Now, I should give you a disclaimer that I'm not a tax professional, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm simply a guy that loves crypto, loves working with SQL, and so I've decided to share my SQL code on my GitHub, which you can find in a link below this video. I'd also welcome your criticisms, your comments about the software, and if you found it helpful. Have a great day, everyone.